What the fuck is up, everyone? Prism Meddler here, back with another reviewing and rating every album series, and today I'm doing Deftones. So yeah, another surprise here. So yeah, guys, I don't know what to say. Just to let you know, I'm not including EPs, compilations, cover albums, or any of that. Just the studio albums only. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, now starting up with their debut, we got is Adrenaline, released October the 3rd, 1995, with two singles released, 7 Words and Bored. There's no date on there, so. But yeah, on this album, it's a pretty solid debut. This one, this sounded a lot different than their later albums. This is pretty much considered as the second new metal album after Korn's self-titled debut, which came out in 1994, which just came out a year before. And it does have plenty of solid songs, like, for example, definitely Bored, which is a great opening track. Minus Blindfold is cool. 1 Week. Life Lifter, Root isn't a great one, and 7 Roots and Engine Number 9 is an underrated track. But it has plenty of great moments. Definitely fits with the new metal sound with the standard guitar tuning. This album did have some influences from hardcore punk bands such as Bad Brains, as well as post-punk and new wave such as Depeche Mode and The Cure. So, yeah, I do think this is a pretty solid album, pretty solid debut. I mean, it may not be as good as Korn's self-titled album, but I do think it's a pretty decent album overall, especially in the underground scene. So, I would give this a 3 out of 5. I do think this is a pretty decent album most of all. Alright, next up we got is Around the Fur, released October 28th, 1997, with only 2 singles. My Own Summer Shove It, which was released December 22nd, and Be Quiet and Drive Far Away, which was released March 9th, 1998. So, as for this album, yes, I do think this album is better than their Adrenaline album. I mean, it has... I do think it has a lot higher quality. It continues the same elements as their previous album, but I do think it has a lot more higher quality production, and it used different styles, snare drums, in almost every track, and it's a bit more experimental. And I do think Chino's vocals is a lot stronger too. And there's plenty of classic songs, especially the song My Own Summer Shove It, which is pretty much considered as a new metal classic, as you know. And especially the song Be Quiet and Drive Far Away, which has more of his shoegaze elements to it, which I think it's actually pretty cool. So, yeah. And also the song Head Up, which features Max Cavalera as backing vocals, who is from Soulfly, who later joined Soulfly after he left Sepultura. And then, I really can't complain a lot about this album. It's a really solid album, so in general. And then there's great songs like Labia, which is a solid track. Mascara, Around the Fur, Rickets is a solid song. I mean, yeah, I could definitely tell this is a pretty good new metal classic in general. So, I would give this a strong 3.5 out of 5. A little closer to 4 out of 5, but it's mainly 3.5 out of 5. So, yeah, really solid. I could definitely consider this as a new metal classic to some people. Alright, guys, so next up we got is White Pony, released June 20th, 2000. And just to let you know, this is going to be the reissue version that I will be reviewing, the white cover version, not the original gray cover version. With 2 singles released: Change in the House of Flies, released May 16th, and Back to School Mini Maggot, released October 2000. Now, guys, we have come to the point that I think that this is their best album. Yes, I think White Pony is Deftones' best album. I know many people would agree with that. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a nu metal classic album. I think this is probably my favorite nu metal album, White Pony. It's either that or Slipknot's Iowa. It's pretty much tied between those two. But anyway, yeah, White Pony is such an outstanding fucking album. All the songs, such as Back to School, Mini Maggot, Feliceria, I can't pronounce that name, but whatever. Digital Bath, I just love that. That song sounds so relaxing as fuck for some reason. However, Digital Bath is about killing someone with a toaster. That's why it's called Digital Bath. Elite is such a heavy, aggressive song. RX Queen, outstanding. Pretty much every single song I love from this album. And I also love the song Passenger, which features Maynard James Keenan from Tool. Or Rex Queens, I should say. But yeah, I mean, I think this is an amazing album. Definitely one of the best metal albums of 2000s. Actually, the best rock album in 2000s in general. But yeah, I think this is an amazing album. I don't know what to say. I give this a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is an amazing record. And this is definitely a heavily influential album. And yes, this album did have a massive difference compared to the previous album. They still kept their roots, but they add more like shoegaze elements to it, which I think it really fits to their style. I mean, I definitely do enjoy White Pony. So yeah, again, 4.5 out of 5. Amazing fucking album. Alright, next up we got is their self-titled album, released May 20th, 2003, with 2 singles. Minerva, which is released April 22nd, and Hexagram, which is released August 26th. And yes, this album did have a massive change. They had more of their shoegaze sound elements than White Pony, and it has a lot more heavier sound to it compared to than their previous album. This one they changed to their 7-string guitars. I don't know if it's drop tuning or standard, but I don't know if it was drop tuning. I may be wrong. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's drop tuning. I definitely think this is a very great album. I pretty much like all songs. Hexagram is definitely one of my favorite Deftones songs of all time. Needles and Pins is amazing. All of this song is played in bass. Stephen Carpenter, who is the lead guitarist, there is no guitar. The song Needles and Pins is all played in bass, and I fucking love that song. Definitely one of their heaviest. My Nerve is a good one. Oh, let's talk about the song where girls telephone boys. I actually love that song. It sounds so heavy as fuck, to be honest. And then we got Good Morning Beautiful. Yeah, all the fucking... Lucky You is actually a great electric ballad to it, featuring Ray Ashburn for the band Tin Fed, which they are an alternative rock band. But yeah, their self-titled album, great follow-up to White Pony. And yes, this is their last album to be produced by Terry Date and Tel Ohms, which was released in 2020. But yeah, may not be as good as White Pony, but it's very strong. I definitely do enjoy this album throughout. So Yeah, now I'll admit, I did not care for this album at first when I first listened to it. I thought this was like all filler. I guess it's mainly because I didn't quite get it at the time or whatever. And then I started listening to it more, and this had definitely grew into me. I know I've seen some people put this a lot lower. That's because they probably heard this a few times or whatever. But when I heard this album a lot more and more and more, it definitely grew into me. So I'm feeling a strong 4 out of 5 on this album. I think it's a great album. Not as good as White Pony, but it's still a really great album nonetheless. So yeah. Alright, next up we got is Saturday Night Wrist, released October 31st, 2006, which is on Halloween, with 2 singles, Hole in the Earth, released September 12th, and Mine, which features Serge from System of a Down, Serge Tankian from System of a Down, released March 13th, 2007. And sadly, this is the band's final album with Kai Ching on bass due to his major car wreck back in 2008, which permanently paralyzed him, and sadly he passed away 5 years later in 2013. So yeah, I mean, as for this, Saturday Night Wrist is pretty much a very stressful time for Deftones because of that. It's mainly inspiration from Chino's drug addiction, and which kind of ruined his marriage a bit. And he also considered this as his least favorite Deftones album. But yeah, and now as help me know this, yes, this album did abandon the new metal elements from their first 4 albums. And as for me, I really like this direction it's going. Now, I did dislike this album at first, mainly because of the song Pink Cell Phone, but I don't hate it anymore. It's kind of a cheese fest in a good way type song. But then, besides all that, there are so many great songs from this album, such as Hole in the Earth, which is a great opening track. Then we got Rapture, which is more of a heavier type song. Beware, which is a nice space rock, relaxing type sound. Cherry Waves is a good one. Mine, which features Serge Tankian from System of a Down. UUDDLRLR. It's the control button, which is an instrumental. Xerxes is another great one. Rats, Rats, Rats is definitely one of my favorite Deftones songs of all time. Pink Cell Phone, Cheese Fest. Yeah, this album is definitely a really, really, really great album. Strong, pretty good album most of the time. So, yeah, most of this album is good. I mean, I'll say this. It's not as strong as their self-titled album, but it's still really listenable and very enjoyable. So, I don't know, this is not really an easy pick, so I would give this a very strong 3.5 out of 5. Just like with Around the Fur, it's a bit close to a 4 out of 5. I don't know. I may change my mind during editing. I don't know. It depends. So, yeah, but as for now, I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. Alright, next up we got is Diamond Eyes, released May 6, 2010, with 4 singles. Diamond Eyes, released March 23rd. Rocket Skates, released April 17th. Sex Tape, released September 3rd. And You've Seen the Butcher, released November 29th. And yes, this is another great album. Yes, originally there was supposed to be an album called Eros, that was supposed to be out sometime in around 2008 or 2009, but the reason why this hasn't been released to this day is because of a car wreck from Kai Ching. which paralyzed him, which caused him to be in a coma. And unfortunately, they had to scrap the album off and make this album instead with Sergio Vega from Quicksand as their bass player. So yeah, this is definitely a really great album. Shit tons of great songs. As I know the background with this album, excuse me, they had to put the album on hold and start doing this album instead. Again, tons of great songs such as Diamond Eyes, which is a great way to open the track. Wario, which is a great song. Command Control, amazing song. I think this is the band's first album to have 8-string guitars, but it's only played by Stephen Carpenter. You've Seen the Butchers, such an amazing song. Beauty School, which is a nice ballad. I pretty much love all songs from this album. It has a much heavier sound with shoegaze elements to it. I know Deftones is heavily influenced by The Cure. But yeah, Sex Tape and Beauty School are easily shoegaze tracks. That's for damn sure. But other than that, I don't know what else to say about this album. Yeah, this is definitely a great album. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, I could definitely tell this album is definitely influenced by The Cure. And as you may know, this is the band's shortest album at 41 minutes. So there you go. But I don't care about time links here. Unless if I need to talk about it. But here I don't. So, yeah, I don't see anything what's so bad about this album. No filler at all. So, I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 on this one. I definitely think this is a great album. Definitely one of the best albums of 2010. And, yeah, that will be it. Alright, next up we got is Koi no Yokan. I can't even pronounce it. It's a phrase for the Japanese language, premonition of love. So, yeah, released November 12th, 2012, with 4 singles. Leathers, released September 19th. Tempest, released October 9th. Swerve City, released March 30th, 2013, and Romantic Dreams released September 24th, 2013. And my thoughts on this record, I actually loved it. This album, just like with their self-titled, this album did grow into me massively over the past couple of years. I actually enjoyed this one a whole lot. I actually love this album. I think this is one of their best albums, in my opinion. This one has more of its alternative rock sound. This album has more shoegaze elements than they did with Diamond Eyes. I don't know what to say. It's mainly alternative metal vibes. I don't see any new metal elements in this one, but it's still an amazing album. I love the song Swerve City. Yeah, the song is short, but it just has this... I just love his groove to me. It has... I just love the melodic chorus on there. I kind of like the idea where one guitarist is... This album has 8-string guitars from Stephen Carpenter with drop E tuning on 8-string, and Chino is, I think it's drop C tuning on the 6-string guitar. And for some reason, I know it sounded kind of weird and it may not sound like it worked, but it actually does with this album. I never heard any bands that have different tuning guitars from each member, which is kind of cool. You can easily tell which one plays the guitar. But This album did definitely did work. And yeah, then we got Romantic Dreams, which is a great track, by the way. Um, Leathers is such an amazing song. I love Leathers. It has like this art rock sound. It's very melodic. I mean, it sounds like they're screaming on the song, but not really. I mean, yeah, there kind of is, but but they still kept it melodic. I just love Chino's vocals in that song, Leathers. Poltergeist, which is another great song. It's one of their less heavier tracks, but it's still great. Um, Entombed, amazing fucking song. I love that song. Graphic Natures is a great one. Tempest is another great one. Gauss kind of has this gent sound to it a little bit with the 8-string guitars. It kind of sounds a little bit like gent, like bands like Periphery, Tesseract, Meshuggah, you know what I mean? And then Rosemary. I mean, Rosemary is not a single on this album, and it's one of their most popular songs. I mean, honestly, I don't really complain about singles, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think Rosemary is easily one of the... I think Rosemary was like a B-side song to one of the tracks. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a B-side song to Leathers. So, but oh well. And then Hot Goon Squad, great track. And What Happened to You, which is a great way to close the album. But yeah, I definitely do enjoy this album. Definitely one of the best metal albums of 2012. So, amazing fucking record. I would give this a 4.5 out of 5. May not be as good as White Pony, but in my opinion, I think this is their second best album. So yeah, I definitely love this album. Alright, next up we got is Gore, released April 8th, 2016, with 4 singles. Prayers/Triangles, released February 4th. Doomed User, released March 16th. Heart/Wires, released April 4th. And Phantom Bride, released June 7th. Now, this album, it's okay. I mean, that's pretty much it. Not really. Yes, this album is a massive step down from their previous albums and quite disappointing too. Why? It's because throughout this album, it's just filler after filler after filler. I mean, I'm not saying this album is bad or anything. I mean, I don't really mind it. It's just, I don't really go back to it. I rather listen to something else. Gore is one of those albums that is very hard to remember. You can barely remember any of some of the songs on there. Even if you heard this album like millions of times, you still can't remember it. It's really not that memorable, to tell you the truth. I mean, yeah, there's still some solid songs on there, like Prayers/Triangles is cool. Acid Hologram is decent. So is Doomed User. Geometric Headdress is actually a great song. The rest is alright. It's okay. Yeah, I mean, I just don't really understand what they're trying to do with this album. As all may know, this album was supposed to be out in September 25th, 2015, but it was pushed back to November, and then it was pushed back again until April of 2016 due to mixing. And, I mean, yeah, the production and mixing is still great, but for this album, I don't know. I mean, I don't really expect anything hard or aggressive from Deftones by any album. Yeah, I know a couple of songs do, but not a lot from Deftones. I mean, I don't really expect it to be that way. But as with this album, I don't know. I feel like even if I listen to this album many times, I feel like something is missing and compared to the other albums. And honestly, in my opinion, I definitely think this is Deftones' worst album. So, yeah, it's just not that memorable, except for just a few songs that I mentioned. So, yeah, I'm just don't really know what else to say. I wouldn't say it's good, but it's not bad either. It's just very mediocre album. So I would give this a 2 out of 5. A little bit close to 2.5, but it's most likely 2 out of 5 on this album. So yeah, I think this is the worst album to date. It's not bad, but it's not good. All right, next up we got is their latest album, Ohms, released September 25th, 2020, with 3 singles. Ohms, released August 21st, Genesis, released September 18th, and Ceremony, which is released January 26th, 2021. And yes, this album brought back Terry Date as a producer since their 2003 self-titled album. Even though they did try to release an album sometime in 2009 called Eros, but due to the car crash in 2008 from Kai Ching, it was never released. So it's cool they brought back their old school producer. It pretty much still, it's kind of like their Return to Roots album. Fun fact, this is the first album which Stephen Carpenter uses 9-string guitars, which features a much heavier sound, which is awesome. I mean, 9 strings is pretty rare, to tell you the truth. And yes, they actually do exist. So yeah, this is definitely a really solid album. Is it their best album to date? No. And I do love this interesting album cover, too, which is cool. I mean, really great song. Yes, it's definitely better than Gore. Massive improvement over Gore. Tons of great songs, such as Genesis, which is a great opening track. Ceremony's good. Urantia, Air, The Spell of Mathematics. Pretty much all songs I do, almost all the songs I do like. Yeah, there may be a little bit of filler, but not a lot. Maybe at least 1 or 2 songs I consider filler. But yeah, I definitely do think this is a really great album. Pretty much solid Return to Roots album. So yeah, I'm feeling this a 3.5 out of 5. I definitely think this is a pretty good album. I just prefer other albums more than this one, but yeah, a really solid, good album. Alright guys, that's my review and rating on every Deftones album. So what is yours rating on every Deftones albums? Let me know in the comments. So yeah guys, that's pretty much it, and I'm going to go ahead and get the fuck out of here, so I'm out.